Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Here to talk all things hockey are your hosts, Brad Crisco, Ryan Hanna, and Evan Lobsinger.
Okay, if you don't watch the show on YouTube, I just want you to go check it out once. Hit the subscribe button while you're there. But just even if you're never going to watch it on YouTube, I want you to just go check it out once. Tell me if you notice anything different about the situation we're in. Anything at all.
That's what you're going with?
Yeah.
Instead of unbridled excitement or showering someone who with praise who deserves it, that's what you're going with.
Evan found the disco lights just now.
We're strobing now. We're partying like it's 1986.
Daniel Rossi of RD Woodworking has come through and built us our custom Winged Wheel podcast table. It is easily the nicest piece of furniture in my house now. For just a quick description for those of you who can't look right now, he has CNC'd our logo into the middle with an epoxy on top. It is a gorgeous like walnut table. The underneath of the table, the legs are
Hockey nets
with
posts. Pucks underneath.
And pucks underneath the legs. And then he has, as a special surprise to us, made a fiberglass front etched with the Wings logo and the rdwoodworking.ca. Go check it out. On the front. And as the biggest surprise, as you guys will have noticed if you're watching on YouTube, it all lights up.
The table lights up.
Around the logo is just this nice little, hey, check out this Winged Wheel Podcast logo light. And on the front, the Red Wings logo and the rdwoodworking.ca signage all lights up. So now, when we have a hot take, Evan.
Oh, I'm dual wielding over here. Where the hell are the sensors?
This is the most engaged Evan has ever been with like anything active on the show. Hot take, hot take. Yeah, we're gonna be real obnoxious with this. It is so bad.
Actually seeing it on seeing it on camera in practice. This is gonna be my favorite.
The table's becoming self-aware.
Oh, it's amazing. Daniel,
the Mike Milbury minute just got so much more intense.
Oh, Mike Milbury minutes, we're lowering all of the lights and it's just going to be the table shining up at us. Maybe towards the end of the episode when I can convince Brad to get up, I'll have him turn off our studio lights. And, we still have the studio lights on.
I'm not getting up for that.
Yeah, well then turn the overhead light back on. And so you guys can see. Anyhow, Daniel Rossi, rdwoodworking.ca. Please go check him out. And if you want some custom woodworking, cabinetry, anything of that sort, as you can see, the guy knows what he's doing. So Daniel, thank you so much.
The opposite of me.
Yeah.
I pressed every single button and it's still struggling.
We're going to do Instagram posts, Twitter posts, everything like that, to show you more. We're going to do a reveal video as well.
I want it strobing all episode now.
Just ignore me while I figure this out.
We typically do. Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. I'm Ryan Hanna.
I'm Brad Crisco.
I am Disco Dan.
Oh, man. And, the second most exciting part of this podcast is that we have a special guest today. We are welcoming Jeff Merrick back onto the show. Jeff Merrick of NHL host of Sportsnet and, of course, the 31 Thoughts podcast. So Jeff is rejoining us on the show, and we were happy to have him back on. So we'll get to that interview in a little second here. We're going to be talking more about the All-Star game and the surrounding events afterwards. A little bit about the Red Wings, the Grand Rapids Griffins, and then just get to some questions. And the beauty of not much happening because of the All-Star game is that we can kind of make it up as it goes. So without further ado, please welcome our... we got to get to that early. That can't wait. We got to be a little sad on this episode. Yeah. Horrible news came out just 4 or 5 hours ago here, which was Kobe Bryant and his daughter tragically passing away in the helicopter accident. There's no words for that. The entire sports world is shaken and shocked, and I just kind of sat down on the stairs and like stared at my phone for a long time after. So, yeah, you'd be hard pressed to find a person who follows professional sports in the past couple of generations who doesn't know the name Kobe. So, remembering a world great that was gone far too soon. So, even though this is a hockey podcast, I think everyone is keeping the memory of Kobe Bryant and his family in their thoughts today. So yeah, we're going to move on and we're going to welcome Jeff Merrick back onto the show. We chatted with Jeff Friday night, as the women's 3-on-3 was just wrapping up, I believe, or happening. And, it was a good time. So without further ado, Jeff Merrick, 31 Thoughts, Sportsnet. Welcome to the Winged Wheel podcast. We always said this would happen ever since his first appearance. It is now All-Star Weekend, and we are welcoming Jeff Merrick back to the show. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us again.
I apologize. I should not be this hard of a get. Like when you look at guests that should be hard to get, my name should not be on that list. So I apologize. It's been so long between appearances.
I will give you this, Jeff. I really thought Ron McLean would be a harder get than you, but you haven't been on that front.
Because Ron's like gracious and nice and wonderful and kind and, you know, accommodating, and I'm not any of those things. That's Ron. That's just how good Ron is.
You're selling yourself short. Really, the hardest get has been Fried. Fried is an impossible nut to crack.
Well, he's not a good person. Like at the end of the day, like he's a mean guy. You know, people don't like him. He doesn't like people. He's like, it might not come through on the podcast, but he's really a horrible man. He's a terrible human being.
And on a related note, we also have co-host Brad Crisco on this call.
Speaking of horrible people, how's it going?
How's it going, boys?
Oh, not too bad. It's good to have you back on. You and Brad were just chatting about that new stick with the hole in the blade. What's it called, Brad?
The Bauer Nexus ADV.
I would suck with that thing. A hole in the blade. I already have a terrible slap shot. If you remove weight from the bottom of the stick, I'd be useless out there.
Okay, so I was in Hamilton last week at the CHL NHL Top Prospects game. I love this game. It's fun. It's wonderful. And all the kids are all in the same place. And you get to talk to families. And you get a chance to talk to a lot of, you know, people from different walks of life, whether it's, you know, scouts or in this specific instance, one of the people from Bauer. And so I'm walking down the hallway outside of one of the two teams' dressing rooms, must have been Team White, and I see that stick, and it's Alexis Lafreniere's. And I mean, I've seen it online, saw pictures of Braden Shen with it, Jake DeBrusk with it, but I hadn't actually seen one up close. And so I'm taking a good peek at that, and I end up talking to this guy from Bauer, and we're talking about the technology and how long they've been trying it out, and the players that are that have used it, and you know that includes, you know, Jake DeBrusk and David Pasternak, and I'm going to blank on a whole bunch of names here as well. Braden Shen, geez, who else? A bunch of other guys. And we started talking about, you know, composite technology and sort of the evolution of it. And I said, you know, I haven't used a wooden stick in forever. I mean, I just play beer league, so you shouldn't use me as any sort of, you know, measuring stick for how good this thing is. But I said the one thing that I do miss from wood sticks is taking a hard pass. Like, when's the last time you two guys like used a wooden hockey stick? Like, it's remarkable how you forget how nice it feels to take a hard pass on a wood stick, because it cradles it. It's soft. Like on a composite stick, it still bounces, and you really got to have good hands to handle it. And I said, like, this is the one thing that I miss. And he said, you know, that's one of the things that, you know, this stick allows, that has more of a flex or a trampoline sort of effect. When you get harder passes, it sort of cushions the puck a little bit. Now, this is for elite level players. Like, I know in my stupid men's league, there's going to be some dummy, you know, that shows up with this stick because it's like the latest thing, right? There's a lot of men's league hockey players out there that, you know, have too much money, and so they get like the latest, you know, the latest technology in skates, the newest gloves, the latest slickest helmet. And so sure enough, one of these sticks is going to show up at my dumb men's league, and this technology is way over my head. But the guys that use them, and Jake DeBrusk is the latest one who scored a couple of goals with it, he swears by it already. Like, he loves it. So I can't grouse about something that's not really designed for me as a cheap hack men's league hockey player. All I know is Jake DeBrusk scored a couple goals with it. He loves it, and the guys that have tested it so far sort of say this is a really good stick. But it does look a little goofy. I will give you that.
Speaking of the look and how goofy it is, one of the things I obsess with, much like Mark Savard here, is the tape on the stick. Now, Bauer's instructed and send out instructions. The normal thing is just tape over the hole. It's not meant for wind resistance. It's just meant for weight balance in the construction of the blade. But wouldn't you just be a little tempted to put the Kevin Fiala one strip along the bottom below the hole?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Who else do you have? Peter Schaefer, I think, used to do that as well. Yeah, I would really be tempted. I mean, listen, if you have a stick and the blade has a hole in it, and you're just like a hack like the three of us, why would you not want to show that off? Or even if you're an NHLer, why would you not want that as part of your look? Oh, yeah. Right? Like, I don't know. I wouldn't cover it up at all.
A celebration where you hold the blade over your eyes and you kind of look through it. That'd be hilarious.
Oh, I like that. Oh yeah, you go by the bench. It's like a pair of goggles. Oh, I do like that one. That's a great call. Oh, I like that.
The last time we saw a stick with holes in it was Datsuk, the one with the 3 holes down the shaft, right?
Yeah, the RBK. Yeah, there was a few guys. I work with Colby Armstrong, and I asked Colby about that because he used it when he played. I think he was with Atlanta when he used that RBK, and I was like, "Did you notice any difference?" He goes, "Nah, just a deal that I had, so I used it." But I'm sure, again, you're talking about like these elite level guys where, the tiniest little difference in their skate lace means the world. I mean, all this technology is lost on a guy like me. Listen, even Colby Armstrong is telling me all this stuff is sort of, lost on a bottom 6 guy like me. But I would imagine when you're at the elite of your sports, the tiniest little adjustment can probably mean the difference between 25 or 35 goals. Who knows?
All right, I'm going to pivot us here to the All-Star game. So I think this is a great time to bring you back because the Red Wing that's going is Tyler Bertuzzi. And though he might not be one of the standout stars there, I do think he is best in the league at one thing, and that is tipping pucks into the net. He has become masterful at redirecting goals in the net. So how does that align with our previously discussed vision of an all niche skills competition all-star game? Get a hardest shot with a wooden stick, best redirecting the puck in. Is that the kind of thing that you think the all-star game should move more towards?
I mean, for a guy like me, yeah. I mean, generally, it took me a few years to get there, but now I'm at the place where I've stopped complaining about the all-star game because it's not for me. Like, I had to get over my own ego and realize that not everything is designed for me. It was really hard for me to do that, guys, I assure you, to not realize that the universe doesn't exist just to please me at every moment, every time I flip on the television. But yeah, like a puck tipping exhibition or a puck tipping event. Yeah, man, send me your Wayne Simmons, send me your Joe Pavelski, send me your Anders Lee, send me your Tyler Bertuzzi. Give me that all day of the week. As far as niche skills go, honestly, here's how bad it is. I would watch who's the best at stripping the puck off the boards. Give me the best wingers at doing that. That's the level of boredom minutia that I would watch at an all-star game. The guy that can peel the puck off the boards the best, or takes the bad pass the best. That guy, yeah. Who's the best board battle guy? Keep away would be fascinating. Who's the because you just mentioned Pavel Datsyuk, and I'm sure you guys used to watch him practice. And listen, that guy, outside of Alex Kovalev, who was the master at it, I don't know that I've seen anyone better at keep away than Pavel Datsyuk. It was weird. It's you just couldn't he looks so small, looks so slight. No one can lift up his stick. The guy's just he's got that. We had that. Gordie Howe was always the guy. You can't pick up Gordie's stick. No one can pick up Gordie's stick. Datsyuk was the same way. And everyone looks at him and goes what, that pipsqueak? Yeah, man. Keep away and just play it in one of the face-off circles. I'm into that. I'd watch that.
He trained with weights from the time he was like 13 in Russia.
You know what the interesting thing about Datsyuk is, and I've talked to a couple of Detroit Red Wings players about this. He wouldn't let anyone watch his workouts.
Oh.
Like he wouldn't go and like work out with the guys. It's like I remember talking to Brad May about this once because Mayday was a Detroit Red Wing, and I worked with Brad at Sportsnet for a number of years, and he's a buddy from a long way back. And so, I'm fascinated by everything to do with Pavel Datsyuk. And I said, like, the guy is like so freakishly strong for a small guy. Like, what are his workouts like? And he said nobody knows. It's like he just vanishes, and then he comes back, and he's all sweaty, and then he just showers and gets on with his day, and no one's seen his workout. He's like an intensely private, like no one really knows what the guy did. A fascinating guy, like a really interesting guy.
Oh.
With a canoe paddle for a blade as well, as I'm sure you guys have talked about before.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was literally going to make the canoe paddle joke when Jeff was talking about how you couldn't lift his stick, and of course, because his stick appeared to be 15 pounds heavier than everybody else's.
It's like a shovel. Right? Like I look at that. And I'm like, is he playing hockey with a shovel? Like, what is that thing the 13's got? My goodness.
All right, Jeff. So very quickly, let's pretend you're the Jeff that the universe revolves around. You can be that person for a moment here. What is your single best, I want this done to the All-Star game, no questions asked, we're doing it, free, just not allowed to complain about it on 31 Thoughts, this idea for the All-Star game is being implemented?
Freed would actually agree with this one. And that is, I want specialists. I don't want the All-Stars to compete at the skills competition. I want the guys that are the best at those individual skills. When it comes to the fastest skater, even though he's not an All-Star, I want to see Michael Grabner. I want to see Andreas Athanasiou. When it comes to the hardest shot, even though he's not an All-Star, I want to see Ryan Pulock. Like, I want to see the guys that are the masters of these things. Like Ryan Pulock, Shea Weber cranked it up, but what did he crank it up on Friday night? Like 106 to win the hardest shot. Like that's crazy, right? I'm willing to bet that Ryan Pulock can give him a run for his money. This guy's been able to hammer that thing going back to when I first started watching him in Brandon with the Wheat Kings to get my Pierre on there for a second. Like this guy can hammer it. So I want to see the specialist. I want to see the guy that might not be talented enough to go to the All-Star game, but just has, rockets attached to his skates. I want to see that guy in the fastest skater. And I want to see the guy that can hammer the puck like nobody else in the hardest shot competition. And I'd like to see more alumni. It was nice to see Al McInnes come out and, take the courtesy shot to kick off the hardest shot competition. Why not bring out some of the older guys, the Al Iafrades or Brian Rolston used to be able to really crank it up too. Like these types of guys at the event. It'd be wonderful for the alumni, wonderful for those players and their families and their kids. Give them the All-Star weekend experience. If I was designing the All-Star game, that's what I would do. If, as we point out, the world revolved around making me pleased and tickling me under the chin at every turn.
Not too far though, because then goalies would have two blockers, right?
Two block. I've kind of softened on that one because people are like, oh, it looks goofy. Okay, fine. I'll relent on that one. But I'm still not letting go of the idea that it should be a minor penalty if goaltenders cover the puck for a whistle. Got to keep that thing moved. You want to move the game along. You want to take it to the next step. Why should goaltenders be allowed to cover up the puck and stop the play? I know it sounds goofy when you first hear it. Just think about it philosophically for a few moments, gentle listener right now, and think what a cool change that would be to the game. You want nonstop activity? That does it. Because right now goalies artificially stop the play and kill momentum.
All right, gentle listener, after you've taken the minute requisite pause there to digest what Jeff just delivered to you.
I was going to say, what a jackass. What a terrible thing for me to say. What a pretentious thing that was to just say. Like, I'm embarrassed for myself. It just came out of my mouth.
So, obviously, with the women's 3-on-3 being a big success and arguably the focal point going into this entire All-Star weekend, do you think there is an opportunity here for an expanded role for the women's hockey players in not just the skills competition, but All-Star weekend?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a permanent fixture now. I think one of the smartest things for women's hockey is to put their product right up against the NHLers, to put all the elite of the elite women right up against the elite of the elite men. Like, I think that's from a marketing and a perception point of view. I think that's a wonderful thing for the women's game. And I think this, the women participating again this season, I think is, the NHL nudging even closer, or sort of moving the needle even more towards them eventually forming their own women's league. I think we all have an understanding that that's the long-term play here. They're not going to do it while there's one active women's run league for various reasons. One of them, the NHL doesn't want to look like the bully that's, tries to squash another hockey league that looks to not squash a women's hockey league. And two, there's probably legal reasons why they don't want to go about that right now. But you can rest assured that the NHL, for a couple of reasons. One, it's the right thing to do. And two, they've been, had this in the back of their minds for a number of years now. The NHL does want to get involved in women's hockey in a more profound capacity. What it looks like, I have no idea. Do I believe that there's a league in an envelope somewhere in the NHL office that they're ready to pull out the minute that that there's a clear path to creating this league? Yes. Do I believe they can put it together quickly? Yes. Do I think that they'd be ready to go at a moment's notice? Yes. There's just a couple of hurdles. One of them is, as we mentioned, there's already a league in place, and putting a WNHL or whatever it would be called. It sounds like a huge project. But if I'm a betting man, I'm assuming that the NHL already has in their minds an idea of how to put this together, and it can probably be turned around a lot quicker than people think.
That's been a delicate topic, I think, that you and Friedge have had to navigate. And I remember Friedge was talking on a recent podcast as well. He's kind of, every time he talks, it's a tinderbox because he has such a vast audience. Yeah.
It's hard. It's honestly, like Elliot. I mean, Elliot is a journalist, and I don't know that there's been a story recently that has as many landmines as this one does. And you can understand why. When it comes to women's hockey, there's a lot of nerves that are close to the skin. A lot of parties involved, and we all understand the reasons why, and it is really difficult to navigate without offending someone. Has it gotten in the way of progress? I've heard that from women involved in the game, that they need to get out of their own way if this thing is going to move forward. The stakes are high in this one. It's a very delicate situation, and listen, anytime Elliot talks about it or writes about it, he opens himself up to criticism because there's a lot of different layers to this one, and it's really easy to offend one of or a number of the groups that have a stake in the issue. So it's a tricky one. It's a sensitive one. I think everybody wants to do the right thing here. I think everybody wants to see a successfully run women's hockey league, but the issue is everybody has a different idea of how to get there. We all know that everybody wants to get to the top of the mountain here, but everybody has a different path that they think they should take. So this one is I can sympathize with what Elliot has gone through. For me, it's only been, whether I say something on radio or on a podcast like this or 31 Thoughts Pod or a couple of tweets. Elliot puts it in writing in 31 Thoughts at sportsnet.ca, which everybody in the industry reads and everybody has an opinion on. And the minute that thing gets published, his inbox, his DMs, and his text messages just explode. So that gets doubled when he does a big piece on women's hockey. It's a tough one. I think we all know where it's going. We all think it's going to get there eventually. It's not fast enough for some people, and I understand that, but I think we all know where this thing is heading. And I think the women being at the All-Star game again this season moves it that much closer.
All right, Jeff, appreciate you coming on the show. As much as we laughed about you being a tough get, you're always welcome back. And you're officially a returning guest and friend of the Winged Wheel podcast now. So for those of you who don't listen, you can find Jeff on Sportsnet, 31 Thoughts, the podcast, ice surfing, pretty much everywhere in the hockey world. Jeff, thank you for joining us again.
You're right. There is too much me out there. But listen, I should not be this hard, and that is all my fault. So let's not make it this long in between appearances. Love talking to you guys.
That's the deal. All right. Have a good night.
Thanks, boys. Have a good one.
And we're back. Disco Dan has kind of figured out the controls for the lights.
I broke everything.
Ah, well, it was only a matter of time. And that was Jeff Merrick. So pumped to have Jeff back on. And as we were joking around, he can't be the hardest get on this show. So we're going to have him back on much sooner. Frege, though, still, that might never happen. Because as Jeff said, just like you, Brad, terrible person.
Well, if we can get me on here, there's hope.
If we can get Evan on here, there's hope.
True.
I can't wait for you guys to see the reveal video because it was the most engaged I've ever seen Evan in my life. So, all right. The All-Star game came, it went. Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Well, I guess the bad would be my...
Tracker, that
Oh.
was the bad.
That was the real bad. That was the banishing. If you try to defend it, Ryan, I'm going to ask you to leave.
I saw people trying to defend it, and all I thought was the puck tracker, if you made it better, would have made more sense in, the 90s. But we have high definition TVs now. We have amazing cameras. We don't need the puck tracker anymore. I don't like it. I didn't like it at all.
All that extra on-screen technology stuff they put up, I hated it almost universally.
Okay. For the future of watching sports on your TV, which is through the internet, through streaming somehow, whether you pump that through your TV or you're on your laptop or on your phone, I think selecting what kind of overlay you want.
Yeah, as an option, it would be great.
Yes. Even if you want to turn on the puck tracker, amazing.
Just you wanted to follow around your favorite player. You're watching the All-Star game and you just turn on Bertuzzi. Where is he?
Yeah, for sure.
As an option.
Turning on another grown man, Brad.
There's nothing wrong with that.
2020, Evan, get with the times.
Oh, yeah, I guess there has to be consenting parties here. Yeah. If in a perfect world, I mean, if they're going to keep doing deals through NBC and whatever other like major networks, then they should make it interactive through your TV where they have some kind of interface where even if you're watching on cable or, national television and not through streaming, something pops up that says, like, if you have a decent enough TV, you hit OK on your remote and you can, turn the tracker on and off.
Press 9 for Samuel L. Jackson to commentate this game.
9. Please, 9. A small departure here. You want to know something sad that happened to me? I was watching the All-Star game. Yes, I was actually watching. And they cut to commercial. And I got this wave of nostalgia. And I couldn't figure it out. And I kind of just brushed it off. And then they cut to commercial again like 20 minutes later. And I got this other wave of nostalgia. And I was like, what's happening? And then I realized the sound of when they cut to commercial on a nationally broadcasted game, the only other times where I had really heard that was when the Red Wings were past the second round in the playoffs.
Oh, God.
Because that's when every single playoff game is nationally broadcasted. And we haven't heard that as Red Wings fans for 5 years now, or however long it's been since they made it past the second round. Yeah. And
almost 7.
When there's, oh my God.
That was just to make it to the second round.
And when there's nationally broadcasted games every time, but I mute the TV and NHL TV kind of cuts to commercial before they can play the music. So I can't picture it in my head right now, but you guys know the NBC cut to commercial tune. And yeah, I just got this wave of, oh, this is sad. We haven't been good in so long. Yeah. Yeah, puck tracker, I'm not really in for. I mean, if it's your thing, like, tell us why you liked it. I would love to know if you guys enjoyed it, if you guys like the names above. I think it's cool that they can do it. And I think the coolest stuff will be the stuff they can find afterwards. So they say, Connor McDavid averaged, 28 kilometers an hour or miles an hour this shift. Or
if they can make it so that the puck velocity going into the net is over 100 miles an hour and the net light's on fire on an overlay, I'm all for it.
That's the hottest idea anyone's ever had.
Yeah.
Get the table going.
I'm down for it.
Get the table going. Come on, Evan, do the disco lights.
Yes, sir.
Hockey nets that light on fire. Cue the table.
We'll get better at this.
There's Evan's take.
There's 2 remotes and only one does something. Figure it out.
The overlay on the board ads.
Honestly, I noticed it so little, I'm fine with it.
I noticed it a lot at first. You can tell it's an overlay. It does not look natural yet.
Which is fine. So the first time we saw the overlay was the World Cup of Hockey, where when a team scored, the whole team would light up and it'd be like, goal, Team North America. Like, I actually loved that. The ads, who cares, but the overlay of like when a goal celebrates and the red light or whatever they put on the boards, I thought that was cool. They did the same thing. It just didn't look as good as it did in the World Cup of Hockey in terms of what graphic they used. So
yeah,
I was a fan of that. I know some people were flipping out about it. It's either digital ads or non-digital ads. Either way, we're seeing ads. I don't care.
A graphic overlay that didn't work was those weird electronic screens for the accuracy competition.
Yeah, those were bad.
Let's talk about an absolute disgrace.
Well,
I was sick to my stomach when I saw that. Is nothing sacred?
Are we going to have to light the table up again?
Evan, now that Evan has a visual outlet for his anger, he's going to light it up every time.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, what is this monstrosity? Imagine paying like $500 to sit behind the net and watch the accuracy contest.
Watch a guy shoot at a
stupid board up and you can't see anything.
My favorite was when Jonathan Huberdeau hit the post and took out the top right corner.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's just how good Jonathan Huberdeau has been for the Panthers. When he misses the net, it goes top shelf on the right side.
Good God.
Yeah, that was...
Once again, this decision went through like 3 different levels of employees, and it somehow got approved.
Yeah. This was someone at the top, someone who's not familiar with technology at all, learned that you can have a digital interface that like interacts with a physical puck. And they're like, I want that. And someone was like, no, it doesn't really work. He's like, nope, I saw it at a conference, at a tech conference where they demonstrated this to me at a booth, and I want it for the nets. And
the guy was wearing flannel. He put together a very convincing argument.
Yeah, they always do.
Have that.
And it was bad. I think every hockey fan can agree. Just have the foam or whatever exploding targets. It's way better. Sweep it out in between shots and bam, you're done. It doesn't have to be that fancy.
Literal exploding targets would be great. Something that interacts with rubber.
Oh, yeah.
So when it hits it, just boom.
Have like a tiny bit of gunpowder behind like a striking pin. So if you hit it and it just like breaks, that's a point. But if you hit it and it explodes, that's more points. And if you hit it and explodes and it doesn't maim any of the on-ice employees, then you really get a ton of points.
Is this the first year they've done 5 targets?
I think they've done something similar in the past.
Once again, also, nothing is sacred. How could we possibly compare this to former NHLers?
Yeah.
Only had 4 targets.
I mean, you're talking about comparing times, then people are still up in arms because Barzal missed the Larkin's record by like however much.
Are we going to go into some pros or no? Or were there any? I got a pro, but I think my pro needs a table to be lit up. But I liked the Shooting Stars. I liked it a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Which one was that?
The one where they're firing it from the stands.
Yeah. I thought that was cool.
I thought it was really fun. I think they needed to rethink the layout because everybody was just going for 10.
Yeah.
But I actually really enjoyed that competition.
I think it's a good idea, and I think they have something to build on there. I think they need to go inverse for the 10. I think the 10 needs to be a small hole.
Yeah, it needs to be tiny. You need to give them like it was one of the furthest targets, but it was big. Yeah. But the design on it under the St. Louis Arch was great. Like
it also didn't really tell anyone what they were doing.
No.
And I think there were 2 or 3 too many people doing it.
Patty Kane said it is 1,000 career points, by the way. He said that they all made a pact beforehand. Was it Kane or Marlowe? Not Marlowe, Marner. They made a pact beforehand where they would all only shoot for the 10 the whole time.
Really?
So, like, if the players are opting to do that, then there's something to work on there. But as an event, I actually didn't mind that one. I thought that one was okay.
Yeah, not
The fastest skater, Larkin holds the record. Yeah, he got his skating start. Will we ever take that away from Larkin? No, absolutely not. And I can't wait for him to go back and break the record again.
Barzal missed it by what, 0.0004?
Something like that. It was nuts.
Yeah, Barzal only won though because he took the best line imaginable. He got so close to the nets on his cut that he actually had to bring his stick kind of over the net.
Yeah.
Which is,
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah. McDavid kind of came farther away, and that literally, these guys are going so fast, that was the difference.
McDavid, who they just came out with, Gary Roberts just went on 31 Thoughts, and they just aired that documentary on Sportsnet of his recovery when he had his tibia crack, we talked about this last episode, his PCL torn and the lining on the back of his knee torn. So really, if that guy with a proper summer of rest is easily the fastest all-star in the league. Maybe not the fastest skater.
I'll bet fastest skater in the league.
Yeah, probably. I want to see them do around with the puck.
Oh, he'd win by an even bigger margin.
He'd win by a mile. He'd probably be faster than he is without the puck.
They were interviewing a player before the actual fastest skater started, and they said to make it fair, McDavid had to go with a puck.
Are you serious?
Someone said that. Yeah, they're McDavid should have to go with a puck just to balance this out.
That's so funny. Oh man,
and Barzal won, so shocker.
Yeah, that competition's always good. I think the game itself is just I know it's hard to get them to try, and it's a 3-on-3. I think in a way the 3-on-3 almost exposes more how much they're not trying.
Yeah, how little they care, because 3-on-3 is supposed to be chaos. And for the goalies, it's chaos. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I did not care for any part of the actual game. All the parts I enjoyed came Friday night.
Yeah. The game itself, I never found myself enjoying, but I don't know if there's ever going to be a solution where that's going to be how it was in the old days where players would pick up and try. I think the last one that I saw players try, a Ginla was in it. I can't remember what year it was. I think it was closer to a decade ago, where in the third period, the hits were being thrown, there were penalties, they actually picked up and tried, but that was just a fluke. I don't think you can manufacture that. I still think they need to tweak it. The game itself, though, Bertuzzi had fun with Duclair on his line. Yeah,
they had 4 assists and a goal, and then I got bombarded with Duclair and Bertuzzi have chemistry. Who's going to trade for who?
Yes.
I don't think either team is in the business of acquiring talent right now. How old is Anthony Duclair?
I don't even care.
Yeah.
Mid-20s.
The game itself is always just a random person. Not a random. These are the best of the best in the NHL, but it's always a random person to have a really great game. And Duclair had his for the Atlantic Division. Who ended up winning the Pacific?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was the Pacific.
One of my biggest gripes, arguably, about the weekend was the save streak. If you're in a shootout competition, it should not be about the goalies. It should be about trying to score and rewarding the team that scores the most or whatever, because then you'll see guys actually come in, try a little harder, maybe try some stuff. Because this might actually be the thing that bothers me the most about the whole weekend. The game and a couple events in the All-Stars. These are the most skilled players on the planet. Guys who can literally skate behind the net, pick up the puck with their toe and throw it in with the lacrosse. Stuff us normal plebs can't do. Mm-hmm. Almost nobody tried anything like that the whole weekend. The entire shootout, we saw, I think Matthew Tkachuk went through the legs. And then during the game, I think it was only Matthew Tkachuk who tried behind the back and a couple other things. Nobody was trying anything. You're telling me we had 3 lacrosse goals in the regular season this year and nobody tried it in the All-Star game? Every single player that was there could do it. I would bet money on it. But nobody tried it. Nobody tried it through the legs. Nobody tried anything creative. It's entertainment. If you're going to play slow, fine. But I've seen guys in my beer league pull off some crazy moves if you give them enough room on a breakaway. Why are these guys not doing it?
Who was the guy in the shootout who tried the toe blade, the toe of his blade against the Red Wings to go 5-hole on Bernier?
Tyler Ennis.
Tyler Ennis, that's who it was. Tyler Ennis tried to score with the toe of his blade on Bernier in a real shootout and almost got it 5-hole. And that was crazier than anything you saw.
Yeah, it's not even an effort thing. It just shows how little these guys care. there was not a lot of funny moments outside of Hurdle throwing on the Bieber mask to shoot on Binnington, which was great. More of that, please.
Funny, yeah.
And then, oh my God. Okay, I get it. Let me start before I get on this rant. I get it. But if I hear the name Kachuk or Kachuk Brothers or their dad Walt, that I think someone broke Austin Matthews' wrist just so Brady could go, so they would have this never-ending storyline.
I had my first moment of, I'm too old. This isn't for me. Like Jeff said, like, this isn't for me. You know, I try not to be an old man. Like, I try to say, like, no, this is fun. Like, do something new, do something different. Like, it's a modern league. I think I'm almost always on that side. These TikTok videos that they're doing with the drawing of, like, the Kachuk brothers were, like, drawing hearts, each half of a heart with, like, the...
I somehow miss that, and I feel appreciative about that.
I know it's not for us. I know it's not for our demographic. They're trying to get the young crowd, and TikTok is in, although Byte is out now, so...
What the hell is that?
Byte is essentially Vine 2.0. Yeah.
I loved Vine.
Yeah, it's very Vine. I've been laughing my ass off. BYTE.
You just
No free ads.
You just made Crystal so angry because the hours I am about to lose.
Yeah.
Every free minute.
It just dropped. Anyhow.
I'm happy.
The TikTok crowd
Because I hate TikTok.
It's like, it's just not for us. And I was watching it. I'm like, this can't be it, right? Like, this can't be how they're using this time with these players, like, in this space. And then I'm like, I'm on Twitter. It's not like, yeah, hockey Twitter is a thing, but like, young people are also on Twitter, and they're going to share this stuff on all their platforms.
Well, if it's not for us, why it was Green Day, the band that they chose? That was clearly for us, because no one under the age of 20.
No one under the age of you.
Yeah, knows who the hell Green Day is.
They're like, oh, you want something familiar from the 90s and early 2000s? Sure, here's Green Day. And we were all like, yeah, okay, here's
cool.
Green Day.
It's like, why?
And then they said FERC on live television.
And
The blasphemy.
Like, and all of a sudden my ears perked up.
Highlight of the night. So I can almost justify your old man rant with my old man rant, but it'll kind of tie in together. The thing that drove me the most nuts about the skills competition before we get into the highlight of the skills competition, why did that thing take like almost 4 hours? The whole event moves so unbelievably slowly. There's time. I get that in some events you have to set up. Like when you're doing the shooting stars, that requires some setup. You know what that time would be used well for? All your crappy TikTok stuff.
Yeah.
Do some fun stuff there. It's horribly, it's like a football game except without the intensity.
Yeah.
But less CTE.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just finished the Aaron Hernandez documentary.
Yeah.
Wild.
Oh, I've got to get into that, but you just told me about New Vine, so I might never get into it. Which leads me into a problem I had with easily the highlight of the weekend. The highlight of the weekend was definitely the women's 3-on-3. They tried. Natalie Spooner attempted a lacrosse move on a breakaway. It didn't work, but hey, she tried it. Who was it? Jocelyn Lamoureux was like backhand toe dragging everybody. It was fun. It was fast. You could tell they were into it. They wanted to be there, and it was great. And it started at 10 p.m.
Yeah, it was like the title card in UFC is starting at midnight. It's like, I get it. Like, I get that this has to be like a feature moment, but then time your night better.
Yeah, it was horribly stupid because I can even use my family as an example for why this is dumb. Do you know who didn't watch that? My daughter, who this is exactly geared towards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was well past her bedtime. My 3-year-old daughter, who's at that stage in her life where she's getting incredibly obsessed with hockey. She loves watching girls hockey players on there. I know a lot of that has to do with one of our friends being a high-ranking girl hockey player, but still.
Who we're going to have on.
If she agrees. I've never actually talked to her about it.
Who we might have on.
She's aware of the podcast, but she doesn't. Yeah. Anyways, I'll probably see her tomorrow, actually. But anyways, yeah. How are you? The biggest benefit of growing the women's hockey game isn't the women getting paid. It isn't the establishment of a professional league, both of which are great. It's because you're going to generate excitement in the new generation of potential female hockey fans. and you just missed all of them. All of them. I get that this game was in the central time zone. I don't care. This didn't need to be 4 hours. You could have done this whole event in 2.5 hours and had everything done by done by 10:30 Eastern.
I always thought the skills competition was on Saturday and the game was on the Sunday.
It used to be.
Oh, that's a mistake.
That was very much a mistake. Yeah,
I don't know. Who's the All-Star game for, or the whole thing for?
It's meant to be kids who are in bed and can't watch it. And I understand that, Eastern time zone bias. Yeah, we're the biggest market. You need to pander to that market. Sorry.
If I hear the argument against the Olympics to say like, the All-Star game doesn't happen once every 4 years, never talk to me again.
I would be completely okay if we didn't have an All-Star game and you just nominated. It's like, these are the All-Stars.
100%. Yeah, go for it.
Well, because being an All-Star doesn't mean anything anymore. Tyler Bertuzzi was an All-Star.
As much at the end of the year, like the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, as much as we love that Tyler Bertuzzi was an All-Star, are you telling me he should be in there over Nikita Kucherov or Nicholas Backstrom? No, it's asinine because every team has to have one. So being an All-Star actually means nothing now. So it's the whole thing. I'm 100% with Ryan. I get this isn't for us. I get it. Shooting stars, that's for the kids. All the dumb TikToks they do, it's for the kids. Well, if you're going to do it for the kids, do better, because I think kids would have got seriously bored of this entire thing.
Once again, there are 3 levels of employees that agreed to all this. And this is what we got. I still like, if they go back to the styrofoam targets, I will still watch the accuracy contest, because when Hurdle was going ham and then missed 8 in a row, I was intrigued.
Target.
I was intrigued. Well, he should have just hit it off the post and then it would have counted.
Yeah, just shoot harder. Just break the sensor.
I still enjoy fastest skater and I still enjoy the hardest shot because I keep winning it. So there are salvageable things with the whole All-Star event. It's just do something about the game because it blows. Yeah. And there is no need for 4 events to go for 4.5 hours.
I don't want to dive too deep into the women's hockey thing right now because I think it needs more time and we don't want to not do it justice. And B, it's an incredibly tough topic to navigate. It was almost easier in the summer because we all thought the NWHL would follow suit with the CWHL and fold, and then we'd get a WNHL. And Jeff Merrick alluded a little bit to this earlier. I think that's a long-term goal because, we've seen the WNBA model and we've seen now, like, not everyone loves it. And that's obviously something that's always going to be the case. But, like, there's engagement with this. There's, like, imagine a joint all-star game, an NHL and WNHL all-star game happening in the same weekend. Like, that's awesome. And
now instead of 4 hours, it's 12.
I mean, you have a whole weekend to work with. But no, it'll be interesting to see what this spurns because that seems to be the resounding. This was like the easy standout for the whole All-Star weekend. So for Red Wings fans, it was fun to see Bird out there. He had 4 assists or something like that. Yep. And a goal. And I know it's All-Star points. It doesn't matter.
Off his skate. It's the only way Bertuzzi was going to score in the All-Star game.
Redirection, yeah. There in some Red Wings news. Did we ever talk about Jonathan Berggren? We might not have, eh?
So.
We've had enough sad topics this episode. Moving on.
Shoulder surgery, out for the rest of the season.
Can relate.
Second year in a row. Terrible, terrible news for someone who is poised to be a first-round talent picked in the second round, and it's been a rough first 2 years of his his development. All of the Red Wings, Calvin Pickard, Zadina, like I mentioned, went down to Grand Rapids and then dominated for a game. Zadina sat out the next game, and we all panicked, but it looked to be a minor tweak, and they just didn't want to. They want to exercise caution, which is good news. I think that was the right call because imagine Zadina went down and then got hurt and this whole streak died.
Well, the fact that he didn't play that game, let us say that. When Zadina got sent down, he averaged 3 points per game.
Yep.
It's worth it. Anything else with the Red Wings that I am missing? Trade. I would love to dive more into trade deadline, nothing has changed right now, and I don't think we will see it. It'll probably start in earnest after the All-Star break. That's like a weird little barometer. But for now, there's not much else.
Oh my God, we're like a month out from the All-Star, from the trade deadline, almost exactly.
Yeah, almost exactly.
The 24th, right?
Yeah, I believe so. The 26th.
So we're less than a month.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Very quickly before we jump into overtime, I'm going to do a tankathon, and where you're going to tell.
Get the lights ready, because if it's a good one, you have to react accordingly.
And we're going to talk about who we would want the Red Wings to draft at that spot. All right, 3, 2. The Red Wings 4th.
Can we just start the lottery all over again? We want to redo
the whole, because that is Anaheim, Buffalo, New Jersey, and then Detroit. So the current mock draft rankings actually have Tim Stützle at 3rd, which puts Lucas Raymond down at 4th.
Yes, please. I wouldn't do it for sure, but I would consider Raymond at 2.
I would, yeah.
I think I still go Byfield, but I would consider it.
Those are my top 4 right now. Lafreniere, Byfield 1 and 2 definitely, and then Stützle and Raymond at 3 and 4 are.
God, I got Drysdale right now so close to them though.
I know it's again.
We're the one team where our pipeline doesn't need another good right-handed shooting defenseman.
The Red Wings will never have they're a far cry from being the Nashville of the future, right? But there's other bigger holes right now that have no, growing pieces. Sider, who looks to be NHL ready right now,
killed another guy yesterday.
He's honestly probably the most wanted killer in Grand Rapids, and that's
claims another victim.
Sider must be a huge fan of Stranger Things, because he just keeps sending dudes to the upside down.
There's so much potential here. There's nothing there for every single premier top 6 prospect is either playing or is already developed. So the best wingers the Red Wings have are Mantha and Bertuzzi and Zadina, and they're up. The best center they have is Larkin, and he's up. And Veleno is projected to be a good middle 6 center, hopefully. But he's he can't be the Red Wings' best prospect right now outside of best forward prospect. So Lafreniere, oh man. Please. I know it's not gonna, but please.
But it will. Please.
But it will.
At least we can't pick worse than 4th, which is still going to be a really good player. And I'm going to keep repeating this phrase in my head every morning when I wake up until the draft lottery, so my meltdown will be less catastrophic.
If there's ever a year to pick 4th,
this is a good one.
This is a really good one. I know we said that last year, and if we did, even more so this year.
Yeah, because there's legitimately, off the top of my head, of guys who could realistically go up 4th, 5 of them I'd be happy with.
I need to leave in 2 minutes.
All right.
Shut up.
We're going to head over to overtime, which on this episode of the Winged Wheel podcast is brought to you by R&D Woodworking. Go check out rdwoodworking.ca, and we check out our posts that are to come on revealing this table. So we're going to start with Josh Terrell on Patreon. He says, hey, Dub, was curious your guys' thoughts on Jonathan Bergeron, best and worst case scenarios of what he may become and how many more years we potentially see him. Thanks as always. Okay, he's tough because this is his second season ending injury in his first 2 years of his career after being drafted, and that is a nightmare worst case scenario if you're a small, speedy, talented player.
He's a third liner at best, based on how short his development has now become.
Based on his best case scenario, based on his skill set, Victor Arvidsson. Worst case scenario, we never even sees North America.
I think it's all or nothing with Bergeron. I think if he makes it, he's a top 6 winger eventually.
I could see it. He could be. That whole top 6 is a myth. If we actually develop a thing where we have a scoring third line, he could do it.
He's got a big hill to overcome because he's missed some quality time now. But then again, you know what? So is McIsaac. He missed the better part of a year. So
yeah, McIsaac looked fine at the World Juniors. So
Andrew Bohan says, hey, Duds, I know it's All-Star game, so it doesn't mean a lot, but there seemed to be some amount of chemistry between Bertuzzi and Duclair on that Atlantic line.
Brad's favorite question.
Would you trade for him? If so, what would you be looking to pay for him? Also, that shooting from the platform thing, absolute madness, but I personally loved it.
Anthony Duclair's value couldn't be any more high right now, so why would we ever?
Yeah, you don't even look to do that right now.
If you're Ottawa, you're happy that you have a 24-year-old, projected to be 30-goal scorer on your team who all of a sudden came out of the woodwork, a guy who was cast off by multiple teams. You're thrilled. You don't give up assets for Anthony Duclair right now.
No, the time to get Anthony Duclair was when Ottawa got Anthony Duclair because he was worth basically nothing.
Buying Anthony Duclair right now would be like buying Bitcoin was at $25,000.
Saying bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Anthony Duclair was Ottawa's Robbie Fabry.
Yeah, pretty much. Next question's from Cody G. He says, surviving the season has been made much easier by this food and movie podcast. Rest in peace, Terry. But now I need your help in other ways. Looking for your tips on surviving the novel coronavirus, as Mongolia is the Canada of China. Masks and other PPE have all been bought out, in the Mongolian government. See you later, Evan.
Goodbye.
Just officially canceled my work for the next 5 weeks because of the crisis. How do I get through this with the Wings being so difficult to watch and the supply of Corona beers decreasing from hard to find to totally sold out for jokes? Send help before the borders officially close. Oh my God, you're in Mongolia. Okay.
Don't leave the house.
I would love to say our voices are soothing and, help you resist coronavirus.
No, they're the opposite of that. I'm pretty sure, like, just by listening to us, we kind of technically induce the virus somehow.
Please stay safe. And I don't know. That's tough. We don't live anywhere. Although there is the first reported case now in Canada.
In Canada, I thought it was California.
Well, they're up to 4 in the States now.
Oh, holy hell. It was 1 as of this morning.
Oh, I could be wrong. I don't know. Anyways.
No, it's spreading. God damn it. I have kids, man. I can't let them leave the house now.
Jacob Charlip says, what's up, Dubs? Hope all is well. 2 quick ones. With the Mantha news, would you try to lock him up long-term at a more reasonable price or opt for another bridge to make sure injury issues don't continue? The former.
Long-term. Not even a debate in my mind. I will hear both sides of the Athanasiou and Bertuzzi argument, not for Mantha.
Second, if we end up drafting one of the wingers, hopefully Lafreniere, can Larkin, Veleno, Rasmussen be the center core? How would you go about upgrading the center position moving forward?
If you have Lafreniere, it doesn't matter.
Yes. Lafreniere is enough of a line driver, or is poised to be, where you can play him with Larkin or Veleno or Rasmussen. Who cares?
They will produce.
And if you have Larkin, Veleno as your number 1 and 2 centers, and then you have Zadina pans out and they end up getting Lafreniere, then you're fine. Ryan Kern says, hey boys, I'll be leaving this week for a 4-month trip to Armenia, and I think I picked the right season to go. I don't think I'll be able to watch much of the Wings mercifully, so I'll count on you guys to keep me updated. Any tips for foreign travel? Oh man. First of all, have fun. Secondly, have anchor points in your trip. So, book certain hotels or hostels or however you're traveling on certain dates, flights and stuff. Leave some open-endedness so you have some flexibility, because you're always going to find cool things to do when you get there, cities or towns you want to stay in longer. Please, for the love of God, be safe. Use a buddy system. Ask your hotel or your hostel the best way to get around, where to go, where not to go, because it is in their best interest to keep you safe and happy so you come back. That is the best way to do it. Also, if you see meat or fruit sitting out in the open and they don't prepare it in front of you, do not eat it, please. I got sick once in Asia, and it was because they brought me the pineapple that was pre-chopped, and it was warm, and I did not leave the outhouse after that. Mark says, well, shit, boys, the NHL is trying to ruin the NHL. The puck and player tracker is the worst thing to happen to hockey since the instigator rule. NBC and the NHL are doing completely everything they can to make watching hockey on TV unbearable. It's bad enough they have Doc Emmerich and Pierre Maguire, but I can fix them with the volume control. Were you subjected to that trash in Canada? Yeah, we were. Couldn't even watch women's 3-on-3 on the NHL TV app. What? Yep. What can we do to defeat this abomination? Hope that a streaming service wins the next TV deal. Should I just gouge my eyes out with a rusty screwdriver and fill bleeding eye sockets with Tabasco sauce and Reaper peppers? There has to be a way to be around being forcibly subjected to being forcibly subjected to all of this. Had to do a mild amount of censorship there, but he got colorful. You truly are a poet. Anyways, how was your weekend? Did you do anything fun? Tell me something good to take my mind off what the NHL did to my eyes. If you want some nice eye recovery, this beautiful table.
It helps.
Also, what do I have to do to get a bumper sticker, hologram, or otherwise? I don't want to drive all the way to Kitchener to get one, but if I do, I will. We're going out for shinny beers if I do, though. Have a good week. I'll be crying tears of blood for the next 5 days at least. Yeah, we got this sweet holographic stickers. We're giving some away on Instagram or on Twitter. We're giving away 10, but if we get to 4,000 followers and we're currently like 185 away, we'll give away 40 of them. So if you want one, follow, retweet, that whole business.
I'm always down for shinny beers. I'm literally going to shinny in like 30 minutes.
Garrett TV says, Sub Hockey Amigos, how do you think player tracking data could impact the game prep near and long term? My first thoughts were that offenses could try to exploit opposing players' individual weaknesses in the near term and also develop more set plays for 5-on-5. Long term, I could see things like neutral zone play, zone breakouts, and even player handedness evolving. But these are just a few thoughts. Keep your sticks on the ice, boys, and bet your sweet Vippy that change is coming. Let's go Red Wings.
I think a lot of people are overvaluing how much this player tracking is going to bring, because everything you just mentioned to some degree coaches already know and use. You don't need to watch Patrick Nemeth to know that his weakness is his skating. So exploit it, right? It might refine a few things or make certain things pop, but I don't think the player tracking is going to be a big revolution. I think it'll be really fun for the novelty of the stats. Like, hey, Connor McDavid got up to 47 kilometers an hour in this game. Look at that freak go. But yeah, I'm admittedly very much a pessimist on this in terms of the benefits it's going to have.
I'm on the flip side. I think it's going to do a lot of cool things for teams internally. Like, imagine their video, imagine their review, imagine what they're going to be doing internally, whether you're an analytics person or not, being able to draw maps and plays like on a digital board of like where players were at certain points in time. Like, even if you're doing just X's and O's, that is so much substantially better. You can do matching programs to see if a player is suitable for a play you drew up. Like, if you need a player to fire down the wing, but his average speed on the ice is like 10 miles an hour, you know that player can't play on the wing or run that play. Like, there's a lot that teams can do internally. And then for analytics, my God, that opens up a whole new world. It even further solidifies whatever they're trying to claim or whatever conclusions they come to. It is substantially better. It gives them more of a body of work. It re-ascertains some of whatever they posit in their data. There's just so much that they can do. I'm excited for what people like Micah McCurdy can do with the information, although it's not going to roll out publicly very quickly. Ryan's favorite bastard says, Sup nerds, Brad rooting for my 49ers? I knew there was a reason you were my favorite. Wouldn't it be nice if we signed Mantha to an 8-year, $6.9 million contract? Nice. If the Wings draft second overall, is there a chance of Stevie Raymond? The fancy stats are telling us he's destined to be a great player.
I think it should be very seriously considered. Again, I don't think I'm there to the point where I put him ahead of Byfield. I wouldn't be surprised if I got there by the draft. I wouldn't be surprised if Eisenman got there by the draft. He picked Mort Seider 6 overall. He really does not care about anybody's rankings. So, yeah, I don't know. I think past Lafreniere, this draft could get very, very interesting very fast. The one part where one pick I almost don't want Detroit to pick is 2. Because that's a level of analysis that no matter which way we go, we're going to get flamed. Oh, no, it has to be Byfield. This is boring. Talk about it. Oh, maybe I wouldn't take Byfield. You're an idiot. I'm ready for it. Now that I've said that, we're picking second. You're welcome, everybody.
Yeah. Matt Bacher says, hey guys, nothing hockey related, but what's worse, being stuck behind someone doing 5 over in the fast lane or having some jackass ride your bumper while the passing/fast lane is wide open? Cheers to the end of the season.
Oh, the guy riding your ass, but it gets better because I love screwing with those guys. Not when the kids are in the car.
Yeah. Don't brake check, but also don't.
Oh, no, I don't brake check. I don't move until I see them start to move, and then I throw my blinker on just to fake them out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not actually going to start like weaving around in traffic, and dodging in and out of lanes. But watching them start to go, I flick my blinker on, and then watching them come back just to realize I'm not going. It's one of the most satisfying things you can do on the road.
Brett S says, hey guys, I have a Detroit Red Wings all-star scenario for you. Russian 5 versus Swedish Mafia. Who would win 3-on-3 or 5-on-5?
3-on-3, that'll be the Russians.
He has the Russian. Yeah.
5-on-5? Oh man, I don't know. Because the defense would be what? Konstantinov, Fetisov versus Lidstrom and Kronwall. And then up front it would be Zetterberg, Franz, and Samuelson against... Are we going the actual Russian 5, so we're not picking Datsuk?
Yeah. Well, he has plus Datsuk in his roster. He's Russian 5 plus Datsuk versus Swedish Mafia, which is Lidstrom, Hank, Franz, and Homer, Kronwall, and Nyquist.
I think I'm going with the Russians on both.
I think Russians on both as well. Stay Fresh Cheese Bags of Fournier Company says, bada bomb bomb womp. The Trevor Daly 1-for-1 trade game. Never mind, you can pass on this one, fellas. I'm going to the Prudential Center to see the Wings versus Devils on February 13th. How is that
Toilet
barn?
Bowl.
Anyone ever been there? No, I haven't been to Prudential.
I took a train past it once. Never been inside. Did go to Madison Square Garden, though.
2 All-Star Game thoughts. What are pros and cons of having the NHL adopt what the MLB does and having each conference play for home ice advantage in the Stanley Cup Finals?
Because I think 80% of the guys that are there know it's not going to be relevant for them, so it wouldn't change anything.
What are the pros and cons of having the NHL adopt what the NFL does and have the All-Star Game between the conference finals and the Stanley Cup Finals?
That's even worse.
That won't happen. Yeah, I can't do that. Stay Fresh cheese bags for when you have the audacity to ask your general manager for a trade to a contender after posting one of the sabermetrically worst defensive season ever and having made little to no difference in this season. Just keep something fresh. I don't know, but he certainly has a brass pair for even asking. Mike Lennox says probably would be a logistical nightmare, but I think it would be interesting to have each team hold their own skill competition on the same night. Each event would be overseen by an NHL rep who would submit each results of the event to a main hub. After the event, the winner would be announced live to all arenas, then move on to the next event. Unrealistic, I know, but thoughts?
Love the idea, but like you said, logistically impossible.
Shea says 30 goals seem to be the ultimate benchmark last year, as Larkin and Athanasiou both crossed that threshold. Obviously, nobody's coming close to that number this year. What's for any particular player this season that makes you feel like at least this season isn't a complete waste for everyone involved? Also, rest in peace, Kobe.
I would say Zadina keeps up his points per game, and I think if Larkin stays hot, breaking 70 points would be good.
Yeah, I think something similar to that. I think Zadina staying hot is one of the most important things.
I think 25 for Bertuzzi would be a fun number.
Some Reddit questions. Pulling ahead says, bring back captains picking their teams. Skills competition. I'd love to see the 3-puck drill. You have 3 players, no defense, trying to score on the goalie as quick as possible. 3 pucks are at the blue line. As soon as you score, you retrieve the next puck. Quickest time wins. I love that. That's a cool one.
Let's do it.
Buffalo Soldier 11 says there should be a sign up for the All-Star game and players are picked from that list. You may not get the best of the best, but a game full of guys that give a damn would make for much more entertainment. However, I doubt this would result in a lack of talented players in the game, as plenty of pending free agents and rising stars would be looking to display their skills for the league to see.
That would look really bad on the league when after a week that sheet's still blank.
They would have, you know what they have to figure out? Put it in the frickin' CBA. You guys get Olympics, but you make All-Star game work. That's it.
Just yeah, but how do you legislate effort?
I don't know. Darn Fox says, can you see the Wings moving on from Mantha, and what would a trade package look like?
It would have to be substantial. Do you know how hard it was to not make that sound like a phallic pun? Man, for Mantha, we need a huge package, but no, a substantial package. Right? I think it would have to be a first-round pick and a top-end prospect to even consider moving Mantha, because, again, teams that are trading first-round picks are trading late first-round picks, and do you know how rarely late first-round picks turn out to be Anthony Mantha, other than the pick that turned into Anthony Mantha? But anyways.
Twitter question says, Eric says, been meaning to ask this for a while, but who is each of your guys' NHL comparable, assuming you scaled up your talent to the NHL?
Are we going to stick this to current or former Red Wings, or are we going with anybody?
Yeah, I'd say anybody.
When I was a kid, it was Bure, because that's all I watched was his highlights, but I've evolved. Nyquist. I'll go Nyquist.
If you're scaling up my talents, who is a small, fast, good defensive defenseman who's...
Defensive defenseman that's small? Doesn't exist.
Rude, Brad.
Jared Spurgeon.
I don't know. Ellis has such a booming cannon, and that's the opposite of what I have. I'm trying to think of a good defensive defenseman that can play some offense but doesn't have a crazy shot. I'll say Jared Spurgeon. Is that what we're going with?
Jared Spurgeon.
And if I'm 5 inches taller, Moritz Seider.
I like my Nyquist because I'm really good on my edges, skating laterally. Top end speed isn't great. Shot isn't great. Above average hands. I think I'm a goose.
Lauren asked, what's the actual chance that a cup contending team would trade for Daly? Unfortunately, very high.
Higher than it should be, because some NHL teams are still dumb.
I have an important announcement for you after I finish, for everyone to tune in after I finish reading off our name level sponsors here. It's actually very important.
We'd like to become a name level sponsor. You got a hold of my credit card?
Yes, it was declined.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We'd like to thank all of our listeners, our name level sponsors, Everett, Arjun Shankar, Ryan's favorite bastard, Andrew Bohan, Scott Martin, Kayla Thompson, Mitchell Shinkowski, Aaron Taylor, Jacob Turner, Matt McKay, Matthew M. Rice, Luke Johnson, Mike Reed, Ryan Lewis, Langabir, Clayton Van Dyken, Kalen Wood, Hassam Al-Qassem, Charlie Elkins, Hannah Lee, Sean Levine, Connor Leightonen, Danny Jr., Craig Kibble, Rob Thiel, Simon Anderson, John Evans, Kay Waz, Stan Olson. Thank you all so much. Thank you to RD Woodworking, Daniel Rossi, for this gorgeous table. I can't wait to put this thing to good use. Brad, I can't believe I forgot this while Evan was here, but there are officially 69 days until the end of the Detroit Red Wings season. Nice.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to check out wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find links to other ways to support the show, such as Patreon, official podcast apparel, and more. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at Winged Wheel Pod. And of course, the hosts at Brad Crisco, at Ryan Hanna WWP, and at Hockey Town Evan.